What's baking, you guys? Welcome to a brand new episode of Bake with Shivesh, where we work together to take our baking skills from basic to brilliant. One of the first videos that I shot for the YouTube channel was the fudgy chocolate brownies, a recipe you guys loved and recreated so many times. Whenever I'm feeling indulgent and want to treat myself to something delicious and sinful, that's the recipe that I go to. But then there are days when I promise myself I'll eat healthy, but my sweet tooth doesn't behave. For those days, I have my gluten-free quinoa brownies. They're equally delicious, but healthier. Before we dive into the recipe, I hope you guys have subscribed to my channel. If you haven't already, please do that right away. Now, why I call these brownies healthy is because instead of using all-purpose flour or maida, I use quinoa in this recipe. Quinoa is a gluten-free grain which is high in protein and high in fiber. I've read that as compared to other gluten-free flours like tapioca flour or rice flour, quinoa can actually increase the antioxidant values significantly. So let's get started. I'm starting by adding 4 tablespoons of vegetable oil into the bowl. And to this, I'm adding 3/4 cup of caster sugar. I use caster sugar for most of my recipes and not the granulated sugar because the chunks of granulated sugar are too big and they don't always completely melt in the oven. And if you want to make these even healthier, you could probably use coconut sugar or any unrefined sugar that you like. So 3/4 cup of caster sugar goes into the vegetable oil. And now I'll use a whisk to mix this really well. And to this, I'll add 2 eggs, one at a time. Before you ask, there's unfortunately no substitute for egg in this recipe. Now, my favorite part about this recipe is the fact that it's a one bowl recipe, so you don't need a lot of utensils to work with. I just dump everything into one bowl. And now the star ingredient of the recipe, boiled quinoa. I'm using half a cup of boiled quinoa directly into our wet ingredients. To this, I'm adding 2 teaspoons of baking powder and 1 teaspoon of coffee powder. And now for the brownies, you of course need some chocolate. I'm adding cocoa powder, half a cup of the richest, darkest cocoa powder that you can get your hands on. And the last and final ingredient, which is 1/4 cup of whole milk. And that's it. The batter is ready. As simple as that. You only need a few basic ingredients and one bowl to make these quinoa brownies. The batter is slightly thinner than your usual brownie recipes, but this is how it's supposed to be. I'll now bring out the pan that I'll bake these in. So let's do that. So I'm generously brushing a 9 by 13 inch rectangular cake pan with vegetable oil. You could also bake these in a 9 by 9 inch square pan, but remember that these brownies are actually very thin and don't rise too much. If you want taller brownies, you could always double the recipe and make a bigger batch. Once I've brushed the pan with vegetable oil, I always line it with parchment paper, and I always leave some handles on either side so that it makes it easier for me to lift the brownies out once they're done. My oven's preheating at 180 degrees Celsius. I'll go pop these into the oven into the middle rack, and they'll only take about 20 to 25 minutes in the oven. While my brownies are in the oven, I'm going to quickly make a chocolate ganache for the top. I have some dark chocolate here, some cream. I'll heat the cream and then pour the hot cream over the chocolate, mix it all together until it's nice and smooth. Chocolate ganache is completely optional, and trust me, the brownies will taste equally good even without this, but I just want to treat myself to something extra special. And this is why I love these brownies. They're dark, decadent, rich, chocolatey, and the texture's to die for because of the quinoa. The brownies literally melt in your mouth. Go home, if you're watching it at home, go to your kitchen and make these right now because I'm sure you're gonna love them. They're packed with protein, packed with quinoa, gluten-free, can be made dairy-free, uses only basic ingredients. You only need one bowl and 20 minutes. So there's absolutely no reason why these shouldn't be on your plate right now. If you end up making these, don't forget to tag me and use the hashtag BakeWithShivesh on all your social media handles. The full recipe will be available on my website, bakewithshivesh.com. I also have a lot of other gluten-free recipes that you might want to check out. I'll be back next week with another recipe, so please stay tuned.